What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, September 18th, 2025, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. So, wanted to just update you on the situation in Europe with Russia and NATO. So, we have some very concerning news coming out of Europe today. So, Lithuania revealed that a Russian linked network that planned terror attacks across Europe in 2024 was arrested, and they foiled these plots to detonate homemade incendiary devices throughout Europe. Apparently, these homemade devices were sent via parcels to the UK, Poland, and Germany. 15 suspects from multiple countries were charged, and an investigation is ongoing. The plot involved thermite-packed devices hidden in massage cushions and cosmetic tubes, with at least 3 detonating in Germany, Poland, and the UK. A fourth failed due to a technical malfunction. Authorities say the network was coordinated by Russian nationals linked to military intelligence. Suspects were recruited via Telegram, promised cryptocurrency, and kept under strict secrecy. Police searches across Lithuania, Poland, Latvia, and Estonia found more explosives hidden in canned food, equivalent to over 6 kilograms. That's over 12 pounds of TNT, possibly intended for further attacks. Wow, that is absolutely insane. And the Polish president said yesterday that Poland is ready to accept French nuclear weapons to be deployed inside of Poland. And he said this in an interview with a French news station called LCI, and I reported earlier this week that French nuclear forces arrived in Poland. The French nuclear capable fighter jets arrived in Poland this past weekend. Okay, so they wouldn't be moving nuclear strike fighter jets for no reason, guys, okay? Because France has plenty of conventional strike fighter jets. Why would, out of all the 100+ fighter jets that France has, pick nuclear capable fighter jets? It's obviously for a reason, okay? And Ukraine and Poland are establishing a joint task force for countering Russian drones. The corresponding memorandum was signed today in Kyiv together with the Polish defense minister and the Ukrainian defense minister. So I don't know if this means that Poland is going to start shooting down Russian drones in western Ukraine. That was one of the things that Poland was considering doing now. And we know that Russia has threatened Poland that if they do that, it would be considered an act of war against Russia. So we'll see if they end up doing that. But at the very least, Poland is going to get some information from Ukraine on how they shoot down the Russian drones and learn more about the Russian drones. And the U.S. has approved a $1 billion arms sale to Ukraine. And Trump said today at a press conference with the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer that Putin has let me down. He's really let me down. He also said that he thought the Ukraine war might be the easiest among the various wars he wanted to settle. He also said thanks to NATO and the wonderful head of NATO, Mark. And also he was congratulating NATO for reaching the 5% target that he set, and for trying to reach the 5% target, that is. And the British Prime Minister said today that he discussed with Trump ways to increase defense support for Ukraine. And Putin said today that 700,000 soldiers are fighting on the front lines in Ukraine, both Ukrainian and Russian. And the Venezuelan military has begun exercises in response to the deployment of U.S. warships in the region, according to the Venezuelan defense minister. He said there will be air defense deployments with armed drones, surveillance drones, submarine drones, and we are going to implement electronic warfare actions. Wow. So Venezuela is now on high alert. And speaking of Venezuela, the U.S. has deployed 6 MQ-9 Reaper drones to Puerto Rico so far, which are both surveillance and combat drones. That's quite a lot. And right now, as of noon Eastern time, we have a U.S. presidential doomsday plane taking off from Offutt Air Base. We know that Trump is in the U.K. right now, but we still have this presidential doomsday plane up in the air. It just took off from Offutt Air Base, and we also have a nuclear war command and control plane up in the air and a nuclear bomber, a B-52, up in the air over the Ozarks. So our nuclear forces are on high alert this afternoon, probably because Trump is overseas. And Japan is deploying 8 fighter jets to NATO. They're going to be deploying up to 8 F-15 fighter jets to bases in the U.S., Canada, and Europe. The mission, dubbed Atlantic Eagles, reportedly marks the first time in history that Japanese warplanes have been deployed to Canada and Europe. The mission is based on the recognition that the security of the Euro-Atlantic and of the Indo-Pacific are interconnected. Wow. So we're seeing increasing cooperation between some of these Indo-Pacific countries and NATO now. We have South Korea and Japan cooperating a lot more in recent years with NATO, okay? And Pakistan and Saudi Arabia signed a strategic mutual defense agreement pledging joint defense cooperation and deterrence. The pact declares that an attack on one will be an attack on both. Wow. Okay, so Pakistan is a nuclear-armed country. They have short-range missiles that have nuclear warheads on them. Saudi Arabia is not a nuclear-armed country, but now they have signed a joint defense pact similar to like a NATO. That is very, very concerning. And Zelensky said that Russia is preparing for 2 more heavy offensive campaigns. He said there were already 3 of them, and ahead there are 2 more heavy offensive campaigns. He's talking about the rest of this year and I guess early next year. And the EU President Ursula von der Leyen said she had a fruitful conversation with Trump about stepping up economic pressure on Russia, saying that the EU will present a sweeping sanctions package soon targeting cryptocurrency banks and energy in Russia. And a Polish military delegation, including the Polish defense minister, arrived in Ukraine today. They signed that joint pact on drones and cooperating to counter Russian drones, but they're also there to learn about Russian drones. So that is huge news. And Zelensky said Ukraine will soon be receiving HIMARS and Patriot missiles as part of a U.S. weapons package sold to Europe. And the Pentagon has completed the blueprint for Trump's Golden Dome missile defense shield. And Israel's anti-missile laser system, the Iron Beam, is reportedly ready for military use this year, according to Reuters. And we have some escalation going on between Thailand and Cambodia again. Apparently, Thailand is moving more artillery to the border of Cambodia. I want to remind you guys that Cambodia is a socialist communist country. Okay, but there was a flare-up last night between these countries. Apparently, Cambodia tried to put up a border where they don't have a border. They tried to put up a fence, and Thailand had to use tear gas against the Cambodians who were putting up this fence. And now there's apparently artillery moving to the border. And ABC canceled Jimmy Kimmel. He's the late-night comedian guy. due to comments that he made about Charlie Kirk. So his show has been canceled indefinitely. And Trump called on NBC to cancel Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers as well. Wow. And Trump will be designating Antifa as a terrorist organization. And the U.S. State Department announced yesterday that it would be designating 4 Iranian-backed paramilitary groups as foreign terrorist organizations. And a mentally ill man rammed his car into the FBI office in Pittsburgh. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with a live update. I'm sorry I haven't posted anything the last 2 days. I had a friend visit me from out of town, but he is leaving this evening. So I will be live later on tonight, and we'll catch up on everything. But just make sure you guys are getting prepared. Make sure you have your bug out bags packed and ready to go. Make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan. I do believe that war between Russia and NATO is imminent, and these drones flying into Poland were a huge turning point in the Ukraine war, because now Russia knows that they can send weapons into NATO countries and there's no repercussions for it. Okay, NATO did absolutely zero after Russia sent well over 20 drones into Poland. Okay, absolutely zero, except the French moving their nuclear forces into Poland. That's a big deal. Okay, so if France does actually move the corresponding nuclear weapons for those fighter jets that they moved into Poland, that would be a huge move and a huge escalation. So we have to keep an eye on that. But until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.